Hey, what's up, BA family? This is John at The Bold Authentic Life, and welcome back to my channel. This week, I'm going to be talking about mindsets. Okay, so we've all heard the phrase mind over matter or something similar to that. When you really take your time and really think about it, you begin to understand that, mentality is everything. It really is. And I'm going to be talking about 4 different mentalities that are all connected but all nuanced in their own ways. 2 of them are very positive and 2 of them are quite negative. And they affect the way that you go about your life, the way that you treat yourself, and the way that you end up treating other people. So that being said, let's jump right into it. The 4 mindsets that we're going to be going over today are abundance mentality, lack or scarcity mentality, and fixed mindset, and growth mindset. Now, the first 2 have to do with how you interact with yourself and everything around you in the present. The second 2 actually are more focused on how you see yourself progressing in the future, okay? And you'll see that as I continue to explain them and how they're different and how they're related. I want you to take a good hard look at some of these qualities that I'm going to be talking about and see where they show up in your life and in your relationships. And I'll be the first to admit that I'm far from being perfect. And for me, there are plenty of the good qualities that I exhibit, and I definitely strive towards all of them. And there are plenty of the negative qualities that, they're just intrinsic to bad habits, to unhealed trauma, to whatever kind of experiences that, we've been taught in life. The first mentality that I have for you today is abundance mentality. Now, you're going to hear me talk about abundance a lot simply because it's something that I really strive towards as a person. And what abundance means to me is it means somebody who is generous of themselves and doesn't ask for anything in return. I think of somebody who holds their power and doesn't abuse it, doesn't abuse other people. But when you're abundant, you come from a place of being able to be generous and graceful, and you have such an emotional and social wealth that people are naturally drawn to you because you're always able, not just willing, but able to provide and to care and to create a good environment, a safe environment, a happy environment. You're able to give and create, and that's very important in how you want to conduct yourself socially. Now, all of that's easier said than done, right? Because what I'm telling you about abundance mentality is basically like me telling you, hey, what would be good for the world if you adopted wealth and money and you just had a lot of money so that you can give it to other people. That'd be great. Why don't you do that? You should go and do that. So, like most things that are worthwhile, it's easier said than done. And I think that when we look at abundance, we have to look at how to get there and strategies for getting that. When we don't have abundance, we have what's called scarcity or lack. And what characterizes scarcity is the innate need to focus on yourself and to be selfish per se. Sometimes it's important to recognize that, hey, you know what, like, I don't exactly have a lot, so I can't be spending a lot, right? And that goes emotionally. I don't have a lot of strength emotionally for something, and so I can't afford to go out and care for others emotionally. It's always important to recognize that. But when you are constantly in a state of scarcity, you're going to find yourself constantly feeling jealous of other people. You're going to be constantly looking out for yourself, and you're going to be negatively interpreting a lot of situations that come your way. What characterizes that is just the fact that you don't have a lot, so you're trying to protect the very little that you have. Scarcity mentality is like if you're scuba diving and you don't have any oxygen, right? You're gonna panic, and it's gonna affect how you treat yourself. It's gonna affect how you treat other people. What we need to understand, mindset-wise, is that we actually have access to so much. We have so much at our disposal, and a lot of that is just us not understanding how to see the value in using that. So abundance is characterized by being open towards other people, by being vulnerable even. And it means collaborating with other people and celebrating other people instead of, thinking poorly of them. Abundance means seeing the quality in other people, but also being able to protect your own quality and to realize that you have something great to contribute, and so do other people. Scarcity, you'll notice, is marked by the fear that you always stand to lose something. And if you do something, if you go out of your way for somebody, it's going to cost you in some way. Scarcity is very much focused on exchanges because you pay attention to that stuff because you fear that you could lose. You could always stand to lose. What you'll actually notice is that one of the biggest symptoms of it is people pleasing, right? So people pleasing is always about trying to make sure that everyone is happy. Everyone is in a good mood. Everyone is in a favorable disposition. Everyone approves, right? And where that gets unhealthy is when, sometimes you have to speak your mind, and sometimes you have to say something that somebody is not going to be pleased with. Somebody is going to take offense. And while conflict in and of itself is not always a good thing, it's also not always a bad thing. Conflict is necessary in all relationships in order to develop growth. When you're people pleasing, you're more focused on validation. You're more focused on approval, trying to be that person that pleases everyone else and goes out of your way to make sure that everyone is happy is actually very draining on oneself. And it's different from having an abundant mentality, because being abundant means that it costs you nothing to do something kind for other people. When you're people pleasing, it costs you a lot because you're going out of your way to ensure that other people are well. Oftentimes, long before you even go out of your way for yourself. So in a very similar way to an oxygen mask, right? You need to make sure that you're getting a nice flow of air, that you're secure before you help other people. And being abundant means that you do that at no cost to yourself because you already have your steady flow of oxygen per se. Whereas people pleasing represents scarcity, and it costs you a lot all the time to be constantly trying to make sure that everybody's happy, and it frustrates you when they're not, and you can't let go of things. You can't just let conflict be conflict. You always have to be hanging on to some sort of outcome or some sort of resolution. And people pleasing is not even conflict all the time. A lot of the times it has to do with trying to get a result because you're trying to impress people, or you're trying to impress somebody or earn a certain outcome. And being attached to those things and being afraid that you might lose them can lead you to go so far out of your way that is actually healthy for you in investing your identity, investing your time, investing your values in someone or something that may or may not be concerned with you at all. People who don't value their own growth will not value growth in other people. They'll feel jealous about those people, and that means they'll constantly be most likely it's subconsciously, but they'll constantly be trying to tear other people down. And every time they see somebody succeed, they'll get jealous and they'll want less for that person instead of celebrating them because they don't value growth. So a lot of times what keeps us in that scarcity mentality, that place of lack where we're constantly just looking out for ourselves, is a fixed mindset. All right, so fixed mindset is similar to scarcity mentality. I get these like turn around a lot. All right, but having a fixed mindset is one where when you look at the future, you don't see yourself as improving. You don't see yourself as changing. You just say, you know, this is how I am. This is who I am. This is what I am. This is what the world made me. This is how other people have treated me, and therefore I am responding like this. Therefore, this is my response. People have treated me this way, and therefore I treat the world, you know, my way. And the problem with that is it comes from a place of reactivity. It doesn't come from a place of proactivity. It comes from a place of, hey, other people determine how I behave. Other people have the power to choose who I am based on their treatment of me. And other people have the power to keep me acting a certain way. And until they change the way that they treat me, I can't change the way that I treat myself, or the way that I act, or the way that I behave. And so it's all based on how other people treat them. And it's all based on remaining in a certain fixed way and saying, this is how the world works. This is how things are. There's no opportunity for growth. I'm not going to try. And you get into that self-stigmatizing, self-defeating mindset of why try? Like, why go outside of my comfort zone? Why do things that, you know, might get me laughed at, or might get me rejected, or might get me hurt, because I barely have enough as it is, and I want to protect what I have instead of losing it for the slight chance that I might get something more. That's what defines a fixed mindset. And the best way to counter that is with a growth mindset. A growth mindset is one that looks at situations and sees opportunity. A growth mindset looks at the future and thinks of different ways that things could go well, different risks that you could take and what you could gain from them. A growth mindset looks at failure and sees it differently than how we were all taught growing up. See, with a growth mindset, you look at failure and you don't see it as defeat. You don't see it as humiliating. You see it as a lesson. You see it as part of the process. And you're not attached to the result. You're more attached to that process. And when you see that process, and when you see those, sorry. Shiloh's over there doing something weird and I need to go check out. So my point is that the value isn't actually in the result. I mean, the result is a benefit, right? Especially if it goes well, the result is always a benefit. But the value is in the process. The value is in taking one step out of 100 and saying, look, I'm accomplishing things, because one step is better than no steps. And as you get better at it, as you continue to adopt healthier habits and see yourself as somebody who's always growing and is always capable of growing and learning, you're always going to make it a habit to tell yourself, hey, one step is better than no steps. And then eventually you're going to say that to yourself, 100 days. One step is better than no steps. One step out of 100. And after 100 days, you've accomplished all of it, because you've stayed true to growing incrementally every single day. And that's what separates you from having that fixed mentality where you're attached to an outcome, that scarcity mindset where you're attached to that outcome, and your worth and your value is always going to be based on whether that outcome goes well or goes poorly. And you see this happen so many times with careers. You see this happen so many times in dating, right? So many people they start trashing themselves and just adopting so many unhealthy habits when a relationship just fails, when they go through a breakup, or even when they get rejected. And I think that's the biggest thing about it, is that there's no shame in being somebody who comes from a place of lack. And there's no shame in being somebody who has a fixed mindset. Because, we are all taught, in some way or another, so many bad habits. And what we don't realize that we need to do as adults in order to mature is to unlearn so many of the things that we were taught, and to reteach ourselves, and to come from such a place of abundance that we were able to just forgive the world and try to create a healthier world to live in. Once you actually understand the concept of reteaching yourself good habits over bad habits that you've learned in your life, you'll actually more easily be able to adopt a growth mindset. So where do you find yourself? I'd love to know. And if you agree or disagree, I'd love to know about that too. Please leave a comment in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, please hit like or subscribe. If there's anybody that you feel might find this video helpful, be sure to share it with them. I'm sure that something in it will speak to them. And I would love to hear from you about anything else that you can add. So please, feel free to message me or email me or reach out to me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. That being said, I am glad to keep on doing this. And if you didn't know, apparently Shiloh is not allowed on the couch right here. And that was something that I had to kick her off, and she had the nerve to whine like, hey, I belong here, like this is my spot. I honestly am a little appalled because there was a little bit of trust that was broken in our relationship. Okay, all right. This is John at The Bold Authentic Life. Thank you for watching my video. Tune in next week. I'll have a lot more for you. Till then, see you later.